along the way, and we're really excited to show you, Mayor, where we are today. So with that, I'll turn it over. Let's go, Daryl.
Darryl Farkas, Chief Building Official and Zoning Administrator.
Koury Henderson, Assistant IT Director, Breaker of Computers.
I can go ahead and introduce or get our team started. So my name is Colleen. I've been working with Dawn and the rest of the Elyria team since November. So it's very exciting to meet a few more faces. We're all part of the Bloomberg Harvard initiative, and I've been working alongside Grace and Chusara as well. So Grace, I'll hand it over to you.
Yep, as Colleen mentioned, I'm Grace Pinnanen. I'm part of the digital team at Delivery Associates. It's been a real treat working with everyone, and I'm excited to show you what we've been up to. I'll pass it on to Jusara.
Thank you, Grace. Hello, everyone. My name is Jusara. I am currently managing the Data Track project. I also work at Delivery Associates, which is one of the consultancies that is supporting Bloomberg Harvard and Bloomberg Philanthropies in this project. And I'm also working with two of the cities under the data track, Springfield and Tacoma. I'm happy to be here today. I'm excited to see the great work you all have been doing.
And I think, does everyone else know each other, or should we do some more intros from the Elyria team?
Tim, I think it would be helpful. I think especially for Nick, if Tim, Ren, Mayor, you could introduce yourselves.
I'm Tim Williams. I'm the new Assistant Safety Service Director, although I'm not new anymore. I am tasked with project management and also building and developing community relationships, and also functioning in a capacity as i.e. Chief of Staff.
Hey everyone, it's great to see you again. Ren Flanders, Assistant Safety Service Director, focused on digital transformation and communications.
Mr. Farkas, did you get a chance to introduce yourself?
Yes.
Okay, cool. So Mayor Whitfield, and excited to be with you all today and see the continued progress of this project. And I have a lot of feedback already, but from the last session, it was so great. So I'll hold off until after this session.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. And Nick, why don't you introduce yourself to the group, since Ren and I are the only ones who've had the pleasure to meet you.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you for looping me into this conversation too. This would be super helpful as we move forward. So I'm Nick Collins. I'm actually in Harvard's design engineering program. And yeah, like Dawn said, I'm joining early June to kind of take this project forward, and looking forward to working with you all.
Thank you for making it today, Nick. I know that was a last minute notice, but we appreciate you being here.
All right, Dawn, I should have the slides up on the screen.
Yep.
All right, and so I will let you get us started.
All right, so we already did our welcome and our introductions. You can see on the agenda, we'll go over the objectives, also provide the project progress update, revisit a little bit how we got to where we are today. And then what I'm really excited for is to be able to provide a demonstration on what we've been working with on the website, as well as the dashboard and the e-permit process that we've gotten to so far, and then share the plan, how we're going to move forward, and where we think our biggest opportunities are next. So you can see, I think we kind of went over our objectives, but again, we wanted to update you, Mayor, so you can see exactly where we've been and how we've gotten to where we are today. Showing the dashboard, again, is something I'm super excited to do, and just be able to go through and as a team discuss how these tools are going to be used, and what we expect will result from the usage of them. And then again, going through that implementation plan for the next steps on the e-permit system. All right, so we'll go to the update. So we talked about a little bit last time how we outlined the building department's goals and how we wanted to use data to really make an impact on the things that we control. So we had a lot of conversations and we realized we can't control the entire process, but we really wanted to do the parts that we could control very well. But the challenge was we didn't even have anywhere to get the data. Darryl was compiling an end of the year report, going through files and records that he manages on his own. But we really felt like we needed to utilize the New World system better to be able to give us some key performance indicators that would really tell us where we are in a snapshot at a given time. So we thought, okay, well, what do we want to do? We have this data. How are we going to use it to improve outcomes, not only for the building department itself and the users, but the city as a whole? And we wanted to increase the diversity of business owners. We wanted the staff to reduce time spent manually entering application data, reduce the percentage of applications missing required information that has been identified as a huge time issue for everybody, slows down the process tremendously. We wanted to reduce the percentage of permits denied for lack of information, reduce the number of permits that go uninspected, and then increase the number of permits tracked using the New World platform. So that's what we decided we were going to focus on. So within that, we wanted to also achieve our goals through these three strategies that we created. Number one was we wanted to update the Building Department and Economic Development Center website to provide more information. So we realized that there's a gap in knowledge depending on who that user is. As we've talked about a whole lot, Mayor, since we came into the administration, there's disparities in knowledge of how to work with the building department, what that construction process is, what the requirements are. So we wanted to make sure that educational content was provided up front. So we have developed some FAQs and some informational resources, and the website has been updated to include those FAQs that are specific to the commercial permitting process. So we'll be able to demonstrate that for you in a little bit here on what that looks like. We really focused on using the interactive zoning map, which will be helpful, but then also information on how do you hire an architect? How do you interview an architect? What do you want to look for? Because low cost isn't the only consideration. Same with contractors. The second strategy was digitizing the commercial permit application process. So right now, where people are handwriting it out, they can omit information, they can sometimes don't know what that information is, what's being required of them. So if we digitize it, we can make fields required. We can add information in that application process that can help them along with filling out that information. And we wanted to make sure that it was a process that was more transparent. So we'll be able to demonstrate that too. I believe Koury's going to go through that, but that is doing a soft launch. So we are in the testing phase, and we're getting support with IT. We're going to soft launch it. Darryl has handpicked and hand invited, I should say, some different contractors that are willing to be our test subjects on this. And then the third strategy was to track the key performance indicators. So really utilizing that dashboard so that at a moment's notice, we can look and track and manage the volume of activity. Okay, next slide. So you can see the dashboard is going to allow us, it already does, allow us to identify permits that are set to expire. That's really helpful because the inspectors were having to manage this when they had downtime by tracking it themselves and looking through paper file boxes. So that's now been automated. We'll be able to track permit activity in real time. We'll take a look at that, and quantify the number of inspections conducted. So this, I think, really provides some really good insight into building department operations, because one permit does not equal one inspection. And we can see that it's probably closer to double, which really gives us a sense of the actual volume of activity in the building department. And then we can quantify and look at the activity of commercial versus residential permitting activity over time. All right, so this is the first time ever. We're super excited to say that the building department can, with a click of a button, see which permits are set to expire. So you can see here on the screen is an example of what that looks like. This is going to allow us to proactively monitor contractors to see if they've scheduled those inspections. It's going to prevent a backlog of inspections on the commercial projects, and then help us prioritize the workload for the inspectors. And I think, Daryl, I would love for you to kind of provide some input from a practitioner's perspective on how this will be helpful.
Thank you, Dawn. As far as expediting and keeping ahead of the game in regards to what permits are out there, as you can tell, as further on in the presentation, we have quite a few commercial projects going on, and this will help assure that things don't get lost in the cracks, and will help us when we have a few moments of possible downtime to be proactive, look at this list, go out and take a look at the ones that are most pressing, and then report back in regards to where it's at. And this will also curve the backfile log, and also expedite responses in the field for issuances of approvals, certificates of occupancies, and also help with the interrelations with contractors and owners. I think this would be very beneficial once it's fully implemented.
Thank you, Daryl. And you can see on the left, you can look at the days until expiration. So you can customize it to meet your needs. Are we looking at commercial? Are we looking at residential, engineering, community development, or other permits that may be out there? All right, so the nerd in me loves these because we can so easily see the volume of activity and how the trends have changed over time. So we can see this permit activity now. So we go back to 2016, the data in the New World, which I believe is the year that New World was implemented in the city. So we can now go back and we can see with a push of a button what we're looking at from volume activity. So you can see this will help us monitor the impact of the economic development initiatives. If we, put certain things out there, we would expect to see more permits, more activity, and then also to predict the busy seasons, so we can again be proactively managing the workload of the building department. So it's interesting. You can see the lower line is the commercial, the middle line is residential permits, and then the top line is the total. And it's really interesting to see specifically how much residential permits, what a huge portion of the workload they are, even though they probably don't get as much attention as the commercial do for obvious reasons. But it's really, really interesting. And then the other thing with this is I think it's important to remember that while this is a tremendous amount of activity, it's only a portion of what the building department does. So this data does not include the zoning and property maintenance requests that are handled by the building department. Yep, so we can, this is super helpful because we can look and see how many inspections are done. So in 2020, we had over 5,000 inspections. And if you think about what that means in day-to-day workload. Daryl, how many inspectors did you have in 2020?
2020, please keep in mind we have specific certified personnel that are only authorized to do commercial projects. At that time, I only had 2 commercial that were allowed to do new buildings, and I had 1 commercial plumber and 1 commercial electrician. Now, myself included as a licensed commercial inspector and mechanical inspector, these numbers pretty much reflect the new schools that hit all at once in 2020, 2019 in regards to the 4 brand new footprints that were put out throughout the city. And that demanded quite a few of inspections, not counting all the other activity. So this is a good pulse of the flow of work that came in commercially.
Thank you. So again, it can help us look and predict the seasonality of both the residential and commercial inspections. And then again, how are we doing? We actually can drill down and see what types of inspections are being done. So we can say, wow, we've really got a backload in, for instance, electrical inspections. Do we need to have a backup electrical inspector? What is that going to look like? How do we make sure we manage that volume so that we're providing the best level of service possible? So again, we can take a look and see the number of commercial versus residential permits. So you can see it's really interesting. You know, the commercial inspections dipped down a little bit, but the residential stayed pretty steady on the permit and the inspection side of things. So again, it just goes back to really helping us get some deep insight into what kinds of activities are happening and how is that impacting the staffing needs. So what I also really like is that the dashboard or the New World system allows us to automatically record emails that have been sent out to contractors. So you can, with a push of a button, you can go in and you can say, oh, you were notified on X date that your inspection was required, or that your inspection passed, or it failed. So we can go through there. This really eliminates some of the administrative burden for the inspectors to go back, review, dig through emails, and manage that information overload. It's all there in the system. All right, so this is a sample of the website. I think Ren, you were the leader on this, so I would love for you to present it to us all, please.
I can go ahead. I'll stop my screen share, Ren, if you want to pull up the updated website.
I'm sorry, y'all. So updates still coming. Do you want to talk through what's there currently and how some things will kind of adjust, at least from the mock that I believe, Mayor, that you saw the last time that we talked. So last time, Colleen and the team shared this mock design with you all of what an updated department site would look like. Most elements are obviously going to be pulled over to the new design. Changes that we're making are really due to page length. And then just some functionality that we don't necessarily have in Divi, but we're working to get. So kind of go through right now what that looks like, what's currently there. So far we built out some of the just central pieces of this update that has the residential and commercial permits. This piece will be updated here just mildly. It will just be specifically commercial permit process. This element for residential permit process will be coming later in the summer. The biggest thing or the biggest change for this portion is actually the FAQs. So the commercial FAQs are a little bit more in depth. We were able to pull them out into kind of a column view with a search. So one of the pieces that we've been working on is getting some plugins through Divi to make some of the adjustments possible. So it's not functional right now, but one of the edits here will provide the ability for someone to search on the FAQs that have been built out. This will also be moved to that main page here, more like a button. Unfortunately, one of the updates we're learning with Divi is we may not have that search feature available on the main page here. Another minor piece of functionality to the page that we're building out, that's kind of outside of content, is just minor anchoring. So currently most of our pages are a very short form page that goes out to subpages from buttons here in right-hand or left-hand columns. We are making an update for the building department pages for everything to be on an anchor basis. So some of the buttons will just anchor down to a lower portion of the page, especially as it gets a little longer.
Thanks, Ren. And I think, I can go ahead and pull up the page again. I think that what all of these changes will really help to do is provide more easily accessible information for the end user. So for contractors and business owners, so that they're able to navigate the application process a lot smoother. And hopefully that means that Daryl and his staff will spend less time having to track people down for missing information on applications, but also just help improve their overall experience with the journey by understanding what the time frames are associated with each part of the process. I don't know if Daryl, if you have anything else you'd like to add to this piece.
No, I think you hit it right on point. I think the overall goal is to make it a little more user-friendly, as knowledge is power, and this will give a lot of information and curve off a lot of the common questions we have. So I think this is going to be fantastic once implemented.
And Nick, I think part of the work that I'm under the impression that you'll be continuing over this summer is we've been doing a lot of work regarding the commercial permit process. But as you might have seen in those graphs, residential permits are, if not double the commercial permits in terms of workload for the building department. And so by also putting FAQs specific to the residential permitting process and creating a similar sort of graphic to help users guide them through that as well, I think would be really helpful for Daryl and his team. Then Dawn, were you about to say something as well?
Yeah, thank you. I was just going to add that transparency with this, I think, is going to be super helpful, because we do get a lot of entrepreneurs that make, I don't understand the process. My contractor is supposed to be doing it, but I don't know what he's doing. I don't know why he's doing it. So the transparency of information is very, very, very helpful. I think that this is going to be a critical tool. And then again, Nick, I think part of your role will be making sure that we're doing everything we can possible to make sure the information gets utilized, and then understanding what gaps there are. All right, let's see. So we're on to the e-permitting implementation plan. So we're very excited about the e-permitting process. We were going through, checking along with all this work, and Daryl made a great point in that if we're testing this in the busiest season of the year, we're going to make everybody's lives miserable. So we thought that's a lot of pressure to make sure we have everything right and all the users immediately understand how to use it during the busiest season of the year. So we said, okay, let's do a soft launch. Let's make sure we're working out the kinks with people that want to use the system, that are asking for an easier system, that understand technology, and be willing to be those guinea pigs for us and give us the information back. So you can see here in April, we've developed the dashboard. Daryl has selected the contractors, and they are different types of permits that we're going to be doing. So there's 3 types of permits, and therefore 3 types of contractors that are going to be tested on this. Not tested. They're going to be our test subjects on this. And we're going to really work. We're going to launch this. We're going to work out all the kinks. We're going to learn everything we can from June, July, August, and September while we get through that busiest cycle. And then we're going to take everything we learned, and we're going to go ahead and we're going to add the rest of the commercial building permits to this process. And with the expectation that come 2022, everybody's going to be using this digital system to the fullest extent possible. We anticipate that we're going to have to make some exceptions for people who just simply refuse to use an online system, but we're gonna teach the majority of them how to do it. What we've committed to as far as the IT department, the building department, and myself is that we're going to continue to meet on a weekly basis even after this portion with delivery associates is done, so that we can continue to learn, monitor, and make changes as necessary. Nick, again, you're going to be helping us to make sure the contractors have the information they need to complete the e-permits. We want to make sure that this is a process that's alleviating strain on staffing, not adding more. So what tools and resources do we need to put out there that make sure the contractors have what they need to be able to do this as seamlessly as possible? And then we're going to be looking, we can always anticipate the unexpected, right? So we know that there's going to be things that crop up that we haven't accounted for, we haven't thought about, or opportunities to improve that just aren't obvious today. So we're going to continue to meet and make sure that we're evolving with this process and the people that we serve. All right. Colleen, and I'm sorry, should we have Koury? Is that coming up later in the presentation? Or
I realized, I think that we skipped over it. So
I know, and that's the piece that needs the drum roll.
Why don't, before we go on to next steps, we can pause and have Koury showcase the digital tools that he built. And I'll, just because I know that Koury is very humble, I will preface this with, Koury was the mastermind of building out these tools. This was not done by our digital team. This was Koury and the Elyria IET department. And I think that, Koury, I'm going to quote you, something that you said during this project was that I think the Elyria IT department has the mindset of, if there's the possibility of building it in-house, that you will figure out how to do it. And so I don't think I said that as eloquently as you did before, but just I'll give that drum roll to preface the showcasing of those tools.
Well, thank you. I was kind of hoping you would kind of breeze right over me there and I wouldn't have to speak. Real quick, the backstory of this was to create a quick and dirty place for the inspectors to go to and see what inspections they need, what are expiring, items maybe they missed. And as we've went deeper and deeper down this rabbit hole, we've actually come up with a lot of really cool information that I think is really going to be useful. So let me get the right one up here. So we've got it broken up into, let's see here, 7 different spots, but the dashboard here is that will be the main spot where everyone starts off with. So from top to bottom, these are the different aspects of it. With our system, we have a live and a test. We have a toggle button here. So when we start testing things, we can actually do it on the test side, take a look how it affects everything until we're ready to move it over to the live. But what I'll do now is just the live version. You can select it by year. This is all absolutely live data. This is pulling from our New World servers. And let's see here, we'll start with our permits by type and status. So this is showing every permit we have from this year with a tally over on this side that tells you how many you have for each permit type, a total. And the really cool thing that I like about this is we can manipulate it. Say we want to just look at residential. That's all you're going to see there is just your residential permits. Or if you want to see residential and commercial, you can see both of those together. We also inserted a search feature. So if you want to say, hey, I want to see 529 Cedar, this is going to show all your permits for 529 Cedar. Let's see here. The next one is your permit events. Same deal, toggle down here. You've got the same to choose from, and these are your different events. You've got, the application being created, the application canceled, approved, permits approved, denied, closed, or completed, reopened. These are all the tallies so far from this year, which seem pretty impressive. 2,400 of these things already. Again, we can chop these up however we want. And if you ever want to go back in time, you can roll back, hitting these down, this drop down here. Same deal with the search for address. This next one I'm going to show you kind of goes in tandem with getting the e-permits rolling. What we did find when we were going through this is that there's no real easy way for the secretaries and building department, once we enable the e-permit software, to see what permits were created the night before. So we came into here and created this, permits created via eSuite. So these are, let's see here. So we got you 20. These are the ones that we were kind of just testing and creating. So they would be able to go in and see, hey, we had a permit that was created via the eSuite site. Then they can go back and check, this is the permit number, and they can go through that process. This one I think Daryl will like, because I don't know, like we have through this process figured out a couple ways to set up notifications where they weren't before, but this is one of those quick and dirty places that you can go. This is saying, hey, I want to see every permit that's expiring this week, every commercial permit that's expiring this week. All right, and not only that, you know what, I don't care about commercial, let's check residential. Again, this is saying this is real time. Their inspectors can go here and say, I've got a minute. Let's see what permits we're missing. What are about to expire. These application denied events, we're working with building to implement this more often. This is purely for having better data, seeing when people create permits, why are, if they're denied, we can actually deny them, put in a reason why, which you would see here with the notes, just to start logging where our people are having, where our staff is having problems. So these are all of our applications that were created and approved throughout the process. This is just, again, it tells you who the applicant was, the address, the permit type, our dates, and some notes that are in there. So now this one takes a little bit, because it's chewing on some serious data. This is all of the inspectors, how many they have, how many of these permits, let's just do commercial here, because that'll actually thin this out. This takes a little bit because it's chewing through a ton. So these are all of our commercial inspections and inspectors, how many they have completed, how many they have scheduled. So like Mr. Langdon, he has completed this year 108 and has 2 more scheduled. These are all down here to the left are all the different types that they can be inspecting. This is the graphs we will improve on. This was, we wanted to get something on there to kind of give you something to look at. But that will be improved as this living being, as I call it, marches on. So we were having some issues with people saying, hey, I'm not being notified when things come up, blah, blah, blah. So we put in this inspection email notification. This shows every email we have sent out based on their permit. And the really cool feature to this is not only does it say, hey, this is the email that went out, this is the actual email that the person received. So this is pulling from our New World system of what they got sent out, where we can say, hey, we sent you this. Well, I never got it. Well, it left our email server. So either something happened on your end or you're lying. So that was one of the big ones that just for following the process and making sure we're crossing all of our T's and showing we've done our work. It was sent out. The ball is in your court.
Yeah, we call those receipts. We call those receipts.
Yes, I like that, Mayor,
so
right?
that's beautiful.
Right? If anybody has any questions, or I will answer anything I can, or what you think?
Well, I'll just start by saying this is all of you. This has been so impressive, and I was already impressed with the last presentation, and I'm just even more impressed with this and seeing the progress on this. And there's just so much gold here. You know, whether it's the ability to be more transparent, the ability to communicate internally better, the ability to have, you know, better communication with our residents and our customers, and the ability to communicate better with them, and also the whole accountability opportunity we have with both the residents and ourselves, the management opportunity we have here. And just kudos to you all for your creativity. What I'm hearing a lot of is, hey, this obstacle came up and we came up with this creative solution. So aside from the product, I'm just proud of you all for the process that you are willing to go on and stretch yourselves and to think outside the box. And it's that sort of thinking, and I think it's going to take the city far and wide and long. And I'm just proud of y'all for stretching yourselves this way. And it's great to see this product. But I'm just as equally as proud of y'all just for going through the process. Great job.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. I appreciate that, and I'm sure everyone does. I have to say this has been one of the best team efforts I've been a part of since being with the city. Maybe the best team effort, because there was such positive attitudes coming into this from Koury and Darryl, and taking time out of your already very busy schedules to really chew through some pretty significant problems. So I appreciate you both so much for working through this and being such great sports about it.
I'll chime in on that. As I expected, Koury's dashboard would steal the show. It was very impressive, and I kept saying this the entire time we're developing it. This one-stop shopping for in-house use is fantastic, and this will just be so dynamic that anyone can grasp and utilize, not only just for this department, but a launch pad for others to use. And again, I think this is a great team effort on everyone's part, and thank you to everybody. It's just this, from a building perspective, has been long overdue. And I just want to thank you, Mayor, to you especially, for taking the opportunity to provide the chance to make a change and make a difference, to make it better. So thank you.
Yeah, one of my questions I had written down was, what's the next frontier? But we'll get to that. But I was wondering, like, as y'all saw this, was like, I wonder what this would look like going down this path with this. So I'm definitely want to spend today really celebrating and appreciating you all. And then tomorrow we can talk about what the next frontier is.
No, we're too excited about the next frontier. That's coming up on a slide shortly. So
oh yeah,
I appreciate you wanting to celebrate us, but we're not stopping, Mayor. We're not stopping. We're excited.
All right.
I did want to point out, we even thought about things like that. If you go back, Koury, can you go back to where like the process chart is? I'm talking about like I know we weren't able to tweet. Thank
what do
you.
You mean like the application approvals? That is this slide?
Yep, exactly. So we had one. Can you scroll down just a little bit so we can see the bar chart? Thank you. So we wanted to, we have some work to do with this. We're not sure. It's not in the exact order that we would like it to be. There was some challenges with New World programming that didn't allow it for that. But we went as far to say that these words could mean something different to whoever that user is. And we created a legend. So Koury actually went in and created a legend that has definitions of what each one of these categories means, so that nobody should assume that they know what they're doing, or or what it means until they really learn it. And that if you have questions, there's an answer there. So it's just really cool. It's been a thoughtful process.
Something's gone goofy with the legend. Good timing, right?
Yeah, I did pull it up the other day and it was working.
Yeah, I'll take a look. We've been in and out of this for the last 3 or 4 days, so I'm sure I've got something that shouldn't be, but that can be easily fixed. Let me see if I can.
The other thing I was going to share is that by having access to this as well, it allows us from a customer service standpoint to also look at, we can start to forecast, all right, we see these permits are happening, so we know folks are maybe at this phase of their project. Let's start to, put our strategy together, how we want to support this, group in their rollout or their ribbon cutting or what they have going on. Or so it gives us that sort of customer service forecast. And then as was mentioned in the one graph that showed kind of the trends, it allows us to also, because we've been having a conversation about that as well with the uptick in residential development in the city. What does that mean for how we operate? What does that mean for a whole host of things, our tax base, all that stuff, the amount of services that are needed. And so it's good to be able to see something like that, to be able to communicate out that, hey, this is a real trend that we need to be thinking about.
I think I was going to add as well, sort of what's been highlighted already, but in just having access to this data has, I think, allowed everyone to start getting so excited because they're seeing new information and the pulling in everyone's different perspectives. I know the one thing in particular I was very excited to see get included was after hearing from the inspectors themselves, the amount of work that goes into following up on permits that go uninspected is just such a time burden for the staff. And so that particular tab, I think, will be so exciting, so inspectors don't have to spend their time digging through boxes that are next to their desks. I have a visual of them, all being able to have a bonfire, once this is all fully implemented. So that's just one anecdote I wanted to share. But I just love seeing and hearing everyone be able to use this dashboard in real time to identify additional use cases or problems that could be solved in the future. And so I think, Dawn, this might be a really great transition if you want to start talking about next steps. I can go ahead and pull up my screen again.
Thank you. Yeah, so we do, Mayor, to your point about next steps and where we're headed, we do want to continue to update the FAQ section and make sure that that is available to the residents as well. That's super important, especially when we looked and saw that disparity in the number of permits that residents are applying for versus, residential permit applications versus commercial. So we definitely want to make sure we're going to do that. So that's going to be the responsibility of Daryl and Ren with my assistance and also with Nick's assistance to make sure we're putting the right information up there. And we expect that to be done this summer. We want to expand the e-permit system and the internal dashboard to include the residential permit applications, property maintenance, zoning requests, and contractor registration forms. So those are things that right now we're not doing through that soft launch. Again, we're going to learn as much as we can through this process, and then we're going to get the rest of the department up and running on that digital format. We expect probably January 2022, we'll be able to come back with all the learnings that we have and really begin to map out what we need to do and how we need to do it to achieve those goals. And then one thing we thought would be helpful is to create automated visualizations to be able to display the trends in the permits completed and inspections conducted for future meetings. So taking that information that's already there, but kind of creating a more visual dashboard that is a little bit easier to read. And again, that's going to be a 2022 project with Koury and myself.
That's awesome. On the visualizations that you showed me before with the graphs and the line graphs and the bar graphs, are those automated? Those automatically populate?
Those are not automatically populated. The data is easy to grab, but it's not. We had to do that, through Google Sheets or Excel or something. So that is the hope, is that we would be able to create that dashboard with those visualizations.
Gotcha. Koury, so the ones that you show me, those to export those just takes it's another process to get that.
Well, Mayor, are you talking about the bar graphs or the line graphs? Oh,
the bar graphs, the bar ones.
Those are real time. Those are implemented into the dashboard. The data that Dawn's talking about, getting them into line graphs, we don't know how to do it right now, but we'll figure it out.
Got you.
So
that the line graph one is what you're referring to. Got you. Oh, this is awesome. This is super awesome. And I like the next frontier, looking at the property maintenance, the zoning requests. Those should be, nearby kind of, pivots that are easier to go, as opposed to shifting over to a whole nother department and a whole nother field. So that's
agreed. We want to hog Koury for as long as we can.
Yeah, no doubt. This is exciting. I mean, and I'm glad we recorded this. I want to share this with the council and public, because, it's this sort of behind the scenes work that I'm really trying to make sure that we communicate the sausage making for people who are interested. Everybody's not going to be interested in the sausage making, but I think it's important for us to be sharing that. We talked about it earlier. Tim and I were talking about, documenting things and documenting and sharing. We're in an age, an information age, social media age, where transparency is key. And if you don't create a narrative, people will create a narrative for you. And so, this is an opportunity for us to really show, like, look at the work that the city is doing, look at the work that the building department is doing, look at what we're doing. Whether you agree with it or not, you can't argue with the process and the effort that's being put in. And so I'm looking forward to sharing this. Good stuff.